Hello everyone, welcome back to Case Burrow. Today I'll be filming a video introducing my August TBR list. But first, Happy Women in Translation Month. And second, I hope you guys are all staying safe in this seemingly lethal summer. This year, here in Korea, we have been experiencing a few excruciating days with the temperature not going below 35 degrees Celsius, and for American viewers out there, 95 degrees Fahrenheit, even at night. Stay hydrated and stay inside if possible. But I guess enough of the safety announcement, and let's get into the books that I want to read this month. First, to celebrate Women in Translation Month in August, I want to read Emily Wilson's translation of the Odyssey. In Korea, Christopher Nolan's Odyssey has I think it is going to open in theaters just today, on Wednesday, August 5th, to be exact. And I thought I would like to read Emily Wilson's translation of the Odyssey, which I think Nolan said in his interviews that he kind of based his film on. I know that there is also an article that Emily Wilson kind of wrote, kind of criticizing the film as I guess like a mellowed out version of the Odyssey. But I still want to read Wilson's translation of the Odyssey before watching the film, in the spirit of like you know how you read a book before you watch the movie. And I also wanted to continue the streak of reading and really enjoying Anne Carson's work this month. This book is technically not a translation, but I wanted to read Autobiography of Red, which is based on a translation of a fragmentary poem, Geryones, by the ancient Greek poet Stesichorus, which recounts the episode in the life of Heracles. I think it is specifically about Heracles murdering something called Red. So I am really excited to be reading this book as well. Second, I'll be reading the final book in this volume of Dance to the Music of Time. This is just the first volume in a 4-volume series with 3 stories in each of the volumes. I'm reading like one story at a time, and so like I've read A Question of Upbringing, A Buyer's Market, and this month I need to read the Acceptance Word, and then I need to buy another volume to try to complete this series. I really enjoyed reading A Question of Upbringing in June, but I didn't quite enjoy reading A Buyer's Market last month. I think part of the reason was that I think Paul is strongest when he is creating like character portraits, but I think these books tend to be less interesting when it is just focused on a scene where only the narrator exists. I actually kind of find the narrator a bit, as I said, bland and a bit, I don't know what to say. I think a bit bland. So A Buyer's Market, the second book, actually focuses on scenes that only feature the narrator more than A Question of Upbringing. So I didn't enjoy the book as much. I'm hoping the third story, the Acceptance Word, would be better, and that I'm able to continue the good experience of reading A Dance to the Music of Time series. Another classic that has been long in my TBR list is Elizabeth Gaskell's North and South. I don't know why, but I always kind of associated Gaskell with Dickens' works, and I was daunted from reading North and South, because I thought that, like many of Dickens' works, North and South would be very, very long. But I was really glad to find out that North and South is just over 400 pages in the Penguin version, so it is not a 1,000-page tome of a book like many of Dickens' work. I am also really inspired to read North and South this month because I am doing kind of a body reading challenge with my with a member of my book club. So I am hoping that this challenge really inspires me to finish the book. Next, I really enjoyed rereading Henry James' The Portrait of a Lady in June, at the end of June this year. So I have kind of for a while been wanting to read some of James' other works as well. Until now, I've only read his Daisy Miller and the Turn of the Screw, as well as I said, The Portrait of a Lady. I have not really been touching his later works because I've been so daunted by their reputation as being quite complex and hard to understand. But this month I've decided to kind of challenge myself and read this volume of The Wings of the Dove that I borrowed from my local library. And yeah, I really love the cover of this portrait by Bronzino, which also kind of, I know that I don't know if this is the specific portrait, but I know from the blurb at the back of the book that Bronzino portrait actually features in the story. So yeah, I'm really excited, but I've just been kind of flipping through the introduction in this volume, and I have to say, the first sentence of the introduction to The Wings of the Dove in this volume by Peter Brooks, I don't think the first sentence of the introduction should be this sentence. Reading The Wings of the Dove can be a baffling experience. I would have to say that this first sentence is not one that inspires a lot of confidence in the reader. I mean, so I'm just hoping that I can get through this novel without giving it up. I also think that this month I'm in a bit of a kick for reading classics. And one of classical authors that I really enjoyed when I was younger, it was Fyodor Dostoevsky. I think I said this in my last mid-year freakout tag. I really want to reread some of the books in my top 10 video that I made last month, and those include the Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky. So I really need to reread it by the end of the year. And I also want to reread Crime and Punishment, which I have actually read 3 times, but I read it several times before I was in college, so it's been quite a while since I've read the book. I actually want to reread it because I think it is one of those classics in which the plot is so interesting that I think it is one of the classics that I actually recommend people to try first when they ask a question like, I'm trying to read longer classics, which classics should I read first? And I think Crime and Punishment is a perfect recommendation for that question. But also, I really want to read some of Dostoevsky's other works that I have not yet read. I've only read Crime and Punishment, the Brothers Karamazov, and I do remember reading The White Knight when I was younger and when I was in high school, but I don't remember much about the book, so I really need to reread the book as well. But I also want to read Notes from Underground as well as his other books that I have not yet read. There are some leftover books from my July TBR that I'm kind of carrying on to this month's TBR list. I wasn't able to read those books mostly because at the end of the month in July, I kind of got into this weird mood where I kind of wanted to read a huge biography, and I just had Robert Carroll's the power broker on my hand, in my, not actually on my hand, but like in my Kindle. So I kind of decided to read that tome of a book. But that kind of meant that I wasn't able to read Tokarczuk's House of Day and House of Night, as well as Larry McMurtry's Lonesome Dove last month. So if I can, I really want to get to those books as well. And finally, for the Korean books of this month, I will be doing something quite different from the last 2 months, mostly because reading all of the books in this author's career would be quite daunting, because he's an author of several very long fantasy series. And I actually think that this is a perfect opportunity for me to, since this is a new author that I'll be experiencing myself as well, because one of his series that is going to be called, I think it is going to be called The Bird That Drinks Tears in English, will be published in English, translated by Anton Her this year. I actually think the first book, The Heart of the Naga, has already been published in translation, and the second book is on the works, and I think it will be published in 2027, so next year. I also am reading this book by my father's recommendation. My father is a big fan of this author, and he kind of, when I said that I was interested in trying some of his works out, he kind of put a reading order list for this author, and this series actually was the first series that he recommended that I try. And also, I think I'm really lucky because he got me, after giving me that like reading order list, he got me this, oh no, this is heavy, this set of beautiful, this is kind of like a special edition of the first series that he recommended me try. I mean, I will try to like show you how each volume looks. I mean, if you look at the side, the title is really engraved in this kind of like woody looking side of the book, and then there's an engraving on each of the book of the characters that appear on the series, in the series. This is really heavy, and let me try to get one of these books out. And then there is this beautiful cover on the front of this page, and even on the back of the book. And like most of the cover looks the same for each of the volume, but if you look here, there's this person, right? And this matches the engraving, the engraved character on the side of the book, which I thought was like really interesting. So I'm really excited to start reading this series this month in this perfect special volume that I got as a gift. As always, I won't spoil my Korean author that I will be introducing series by giving you either the title or the author's name. But from the clues that I gave of like, you know, one of his series being translated, and like how a book in that series is called The Heart of the Naga, you might be able to figure out who this author is. At least for now, there isn't a plan to publish this specific series in English translation, but this series is also a very famous work by this author, and again, by my father's recommendation, I will be reading this series first, and hopefully next month after I finish this series, I will get to the series that is currently being translated in English. So that is it for my August TBR list. I hope this video inspires you to read in August. I mean, really, with the heat outside, I think this is the perfect month to kind of stay inside and, get cozy and read. So, what is on your TBR list for this month? Let me know in the comments and come back again. Bye!